Hello, hi everyone. Okay, so I see I'm currently live at this point of time. So welcome for those who are streaming in from YouTube, for those who are on, if you're coming in, hopefully if you want, you can come into Zoom because this is going to be a very interactive session, and I hope to engage with people a bit more rather than just talking to those who are watching on live. So if you want, just head to the Zoom link. I think it's in the YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. I think Andrea can put it up. So if you can do that, I would love to see you in Zoom. If not, if you're still watching from YouTube, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to do this little workshop with you. And it's about, oh, I see somebody trying to enter the waiting room. So I will just give a few more minutes for people to come in. I see Wisdom Sabrina. Hi, Sabrina, or shall I call you Wisdom? Yeah, I think she's connected to audio. All right, welcome Wisdom or Sabrina. Let me know how I can address you. And for those who are watching on YouTube, once again, hi. Hi, Sabrina, are you there? Hello? Okay. Okay, all right. So I think, yeah, I hope to see your face in a while. So thank you for joining once again. Without wasting too much time for those who are watching on YouTube, this session or this workshop is actually about self-compassion, a lot to do with authenticity, and ultimately is about finding yourself again, and again, right? So, I mean, we talk about self-identity a lot since at a very young age. I'm not sure whether it's just me, but I'm pretty sure everybody has gone through as well. They will ask you like, who do you want to be when you grow up? And then when you go to high school, they're going to ask you things like, what are some of the principles of life that you follow? Or what kind of values do you value, right? You go for job interviews, the same thing. They're going to ask you, okay, what are your character traits? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you enjoy? What do you like? There's a lot of questions about who we are since we were born. And interestingly, we are always expected to know, or at least expected to be on a journey to know that. So this interactive workshop is to actually talk about identity and what has happened before, after, and all that. So it's going to be very fun. I can't wait to show you guys what we have in store. So without further ado, let me quickly share my screen and then I can show you what we will be going through, right? So for those who are on YouTube, I can see your comments. If you want to chat with me on the comment section, go ahead and do that, and I'll be able to see that on my phone as well. If not, I hope to see you on Zoom. Okay, all right, so I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it. Ready? Let me just quickly present this. Okay, all right, so Sabrina, can you see my screen? Is it,
yes, I can see.
Oh, I see you now. Hi.
Hi.
I can't hear you. I'm not sure whether you're muted or not.
It's raining pretty
I still can't hear
strongly
you,
in
Sabrina. I
Sonam.
can't hear you. Oh
It's
no.
raining.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I can see you though. I can see you, but I can't hear you. I think it's
I can hear her. It's there, so I can hear her. So she's on live. Yes, just go on with your presentation, please, and then later we connect with the audience. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So welcome everybody again. So we are doing finding yourself again and again. So I think this workshop was meant for people who have children, for example, have children and their children has left home, and you must be wondering who I am. So let me quickly show you who I am, right? So this is me. I call myself here Andrea out. I am a creative expressionist and I'm also a psychologist. So I graduated from psychology a few years back, and I intend to do my master's soon, but that's something that is still in planning. So that's who I am. And these are some of the things that I really believe in. For one is about authenticity. How do we live our best lives and our best selves? The second one is empathy and self-compassion, which is going to be the key component of today's workshop. And lastly is integrity, right? So integrity is very important to me. All right, so today's topic, let me dive deep into that. Okay, so we have interactive pieces. So if Wisdom, Sabrina, if you can turn on your cameras, that'd be great. For those who are tuning in on YouTube, on live stream, feel free to do this together with me. I would love to see some of the things that you do, but If you can't, it's okay. It is your journey as well in this workshop. So we're going to talk about the 4 C's in this session, right? So the first one is connectedness. The second one is control, one of my favorite words. The third one is compassion. And lastly, we'll talk about community. All right. So we're going to go through these 4 C's today, and we will begin with the first one. All right. So, but first, for those who are on Zoom, of course, thank you so much. Wisdom, I see you. I can see you. Your camera's on, smiling greatly. Thank you. And enjoy each other's presence. So I'm definitely gonna enjoy your presence here, Wisdom, today. And for those on the live stream as well, you know, feel free to put it in the chat. I would love to see some of the things that's happening as well. Okay. And we're going to need you to get some items, okay? So I'm giving you about maybe a minute or two, but if you can find these items, especially the first one, a mirror, right? Get a mirror, try to get a mirror, like a small one, it's fine. Don't bring the whole big mirror from your room. The second one would be a journal or a book or a paper and pen. The third one might be a little bit tough to find, but a picture of you. If you have it on your phone, great. If you don't, it's okay. But the fourth one is your favorite thing, okay? You don't have to physically bring it, but bring it in your mind. That means you have that thing in your mind, all right? So these 4 things. So go grab a mirror, a book, a paper, a pen, a picture of you if you have one, and your favorite thing in mind, okay? All right, so I think that is it. Let me give you a few seconds to get that if you can. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, so the first one is just a gauge of who you are. So for those who are watching on live stream and for Wisdom as well, which one are you? Are you somebody with a family? So do you have like children? Do you have a husband or wife? You know, are you in a family, like your own family? Or, yes, I can hear you, Wisdom, now I think. I can hear you now.
Oh.
Which one are you, top or bottom?
Bottom.
Bottom. So you're a single lady?
I'm single again. My son went to Leadertronics before.
Okay, schools. All right, nice to meet you. Okay, cool. And I will ask you a bit more who your son is later on after the show. But yes, okay, so you are now single again because your son has left home. Okay, very cool. So I'm going to talk about 2 things here, right? Roles. Roles meaning who do you play in people's lives, right? For example, most likely for me, I'm a daughter, right? That's one of my roles. I'm a marketing strategist. That's my work role. Maybe for you, Wisdom, what kind of roles do you play in people's lives? Maybe a friend, right? Yeah. Do you have any other roles that comes to your mind when you think about it?
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm my children's like so-called best friends.
Oh, okay.
I'm also a nature lover. I grow vegetable. I walk beside the lake. I love my dogs.
Okay. Okay.
Very simple,
right.
down to earth, minimalist, and also downsizing.
Downsizing. That's a very interesting concept. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, Wisdom. All right. And I want you to keep these roles in mind. So if you have a pen and paper, or for those who have a journal or book, you know, I want you to write these down. Write as many roles as you play in your life. It can be anything, right? Anything under the sun. Nature lover, dog lover, you know, a mother, a best friend, a teacher, an educator, an entrepreneur, a business owner, a sister, right? A sister or a brother, anything in your life. I want you to take a few moments just to write as many as you can on the paper, on your book. Okay? And we're going to go into the next part. But let me give you maybe 1 minute or 2 to do that. So anything under the sun. For me, I call myself a sky watcher. I love to look at the sky. And that's one of the roles I play in my life. Yeah, and some of you might be very interesting roles that I've never heard of before. So definitely just write it down in your book, or you can type in the chat so I can also have a look at some of the roles that you play. Thank you so much. I think somebody is coming into the waiting room. These are, right? Yeah. Write as many as you can. Okay, so but in about 30 seconds we'll move on to the next one, but definitely do this exercise after as well, as you can continue developing your thoughts about yourself. Okay, all right. Now the next part is identity. So on the next page, you know, somewhere else in your paper, who are you for yourself? I'm not sure whether anybody asked that question to you before, but I definitely have nobody asked me this question, right? Who are you for yourself? For example, for me, for myself, I'm a listener, right? For me, for myself, I try to listen to myself. That's a role that I play, but it's also part of me, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you another minute to think about who are you for yourself. Maybe you're a provider for yourself, right? Those are basic ones. Yeah. So write those words that immediately come to your mind when I ask that question. Go ahead and write it down. Okay. I think I have one more person in the call. So I think it's Faiza. Welcome, Faiza. I see you. Yes. All right. Okay.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi. Nice to meet
Andrea,
you.
sir. Andrea Chu and Andrea Sapka. So hello to both the Andreas.
I think you can just call me Andrea. I think Andrea Subskas is in the back end. So you can call me Andrea for now. Too many Andreas, I know. Okay. All right. So I want you to write these questions down. And if you have time later on to also answer those questions later. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on. Okay. So before we go into the actual 4 C's that we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask you to do a state check. Okay. What state are you in emotionally right now in your life, right? So if let's say you might be happy, you might be sad, you might be numb, meaning you don't feel anything. You can be afraid, you can be completely lost, anything, right? So how are you guys feeling today? What state are you in?
When I'm in this program, I always charge up because I also realize organizer and team would have utilized so many months to organize this. And also for me to empty my cup to learn more so that certain thing actually very impactful, certain thing might not be impactful now, but nevertheless, it actually inform me that or recall that I think 20 years ago when I was a speaker, then somebody came and shared in Chinese saying that 台上10分钟，台下10年功. Anytime that you currently speaking, you would have utilized years of practice. So appreciate all speakers, all organizers, and all volunteers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Wisdom. I think that's amazing, right? I like that, one moment can be used many, many years later. I think I really, really like that. All right. Okay. Faiza, how are you feeling? What is your state at this point of time?
At this point, I feel that I'm lost because there are a lot of assignments have been given by my lecturers and I don't know where to start at this moment, but I'm feeling positive that I want to start it. So I took the initiative to lead most of the teams for my courses.
Okay, all right, that's great. I mean, I'm so glad that everybody is in a very positive state.
In this way, like I'm
oops, I think, oh, no worries, Faiza. I hear you. And I'm very excited, it's okay that you feel lost. I think we do feel lost from time to time. And it's good that you still are very positive and you're very excited to move forward. So thank you everybody for sharing the state that you're in emotionally. This is a grounding exercise as well. So I can tell you a bit more in the future. You can use this for yourself to state check before you do anything that you need to be involved in, right? Okay, so let's go into the first C, which is connection. Okay, so in connection, there are a few questions I want you to answer. The first one is, who are you before? Okay, so if you have time, right, you go and dig out some of the pictures from your past, whether you're a child, a teenager, or a young person, or right now. I want you to look at some of the pictures that you have. And, as cliche as it sounds, people say pictures tell 1,000 words. It is. They tell you memories that you might have long forgotten. So I want you to do that, right? In your free time, find some pictures and pick one. Pick one from your childhood that you really like. Okay, so I want you to do that on your free time after this. Pick one picture of your childhood that you really like. So believe it or not, I don't know whether I still look the same, but that's me when I was a kid. And I really like this picture. And I can tell you why. Because when I look at this picture, I don't recognize the physicality of it. But when I look into the picture and the eyes of, which is myself, I recognize myself. I remember that child. You know what I mean? So that's the thing I want you to do. When you take that picture for yourself as a kid, I want to see whether you recognize it. And there's no right or wrong here. There is no like, oh, if I don't recognize myself, I don't know who I am. No, no, no. Don't go into the whole cycle of like questioning and doubting, right? Don't worry about it. Enjoy the process. I just want you to look at that picture and see whether you recognize yourself. What are the feelings that you feel when you first see this image? Maybe you've not seen that in a very long time. Okay. So the question is, who are you before? And when you look into this picture, I want you to write, maybe you can put it next to maybe your wall or, you know, your book. And I want you to put like sticky notes or write it next to that picture. What do you see in that picture? Okay, so let me give you an example. When I look in this picture, I see joy, right? I see joy in myself, but I also see concern. I see concern in my eyes. And thirdly is, who am I looking at? That's my biggest question always. So until today, I'm still questioning who took this photo. So my dad say it's him, my uncle say it's him, and somebody else say it's the person. So until today, I do not know who the photographer is. But what I was trying to understand was there's a lot of safety in this picture as well. It looks like I trusted the photographer a lot. And I have a very close bet is my dad. So my dad used to take a lot of photos of us, and I think it's him. So those are my questions when I look at my pictures or my thoughts or what I feel, right? I want you to do the same with your picture. Write down the things that you see in this picture. And it can be as simple as, I see trees behind me. I see a backpack, like the black robe, you can see I was holding a backpack and I was doing something with my arms, right? I don't know whether I was doing this or this. I have no idea, but it's something with my arms, right? And I have a blue black here. I can see a blue black on my little arm here. So write down as many as you can, all right? And we're going to move on to the next one. Who you are, who are you now? So when we talk about identity and we talk about compassion and we talk about, you know, discovering yourself, a lot of the times we always concerned about the now, which is right now, right? Right now, who we are. That's a huge question that all of us ask at this point in time. Who am I? Like, you know, when you go for camps, I don't know whether you've gone to camps before a long time ago. Every single camp I go to, they talk about this question. Who are you? Who am I? But most often than not, we don't ask our questions of who were we before, which is why I asked you that question just now. Because in order to understand who you are now, you need to understand who you were before, right? And then you look at the in-betweens. That's the, for me, it's like a gem. It's like a super precious stone in the middle. Because a lot of the times we just blip to the next step. Okay, I was this, then I was that, then, you know, maybe I'll be that later on. But we don't look at the in-betweens. And I want you to think about these in-betweens, but not yet. Okay, so who you are before, look at some of your old pictures, write down the things that you see, what do you resonate with? And the second one is, who are you now? Okay, and this exercise, I'll require you to take a mirror. Okay, so if you don't have a mirror, use your phone. You can turn on the selfie mode. You can see yourself. As long as you can see yourself clearly, there's a good reflection. I want you to take a mirror. Okay, so for Wisdom and Faiza, if you're here with me, I want you to take a mirror and I want you to look into the mirror. Okay, and when you look into the mirror, same thing as you did with the picture, I want you to tell me, right? Tell me, what do you see in the mirror? Yes, I see Wisdom's mirror up. Yeah. Yeah. So don't worry about everybody else here, but I want you to look for yourself. Hi, Faiza. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you too. So take a mirror. I want you to just spend maybe 10 to 30 seconds looking into it. And if you can unmute yourself and tell me what you see, or you can type in the chat. For those who are watching later on as well, type in the chat, what do you see? As you look into the mirror, what do you see?
When I look into the mirror, I can see the lots of experience, lots of incident, lots of episode happen in my life. I'm sustainable and happy to walk the journey, and there's no destination yet. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. Yeah. So maybe Faiza, do you want to share with us what do you see when you look into the mirror?
All I see is a teenage girl, in fact, which is me. She's crying helplessly after her father scolded her along with her mother, and not scolding, taunted her badly, that she has lost the courage of herself to move further. But gradually she has learned that the uphill, we need to also embrace the downhills along with the uphills of the life wholeheartedly, because from the uphills will motivate us to go further, whereas from the downhills will motivate us to learn from the mistakes and to rectify them in the present and the future. That is all what I have to say.
Okay, thank you so much, Faiza, for sharing. That's lovely, right? All right, so now I'm gonna pick a bit more of your brains, right? When you do this, if I were to ask you to do this activity without me, without anybody else watching, you might have something else to say about yourself, right? And I won't ask you to share that. That's very personal. And I say this out of experience because if I was in this workshop and somebody asked me, okay, what do I see in the mirror? I'll say, okay, my eyebrows today looks great. I see a person who has gone through a lot of things in her life. I see a lot of pain, right? For example, that's what I see and what I share. But if I were to look on a regular day in the mirror, I'd be like, oh my God, I have a pimple on my nose. My eyebrows are shaped wrongly today. I have like a super chubby double chin, most likely unblended foundation. I don't know, a lot of things pop up, right? And I'm sharing this with you because not for the sake of being vulnerable and sharing these things, but I'm also telling you that in solidarity, when we do these kind of exercises on our own, most of the time it comes out negative, right? Things that we are insecure about, or things that we don't really tell somebody else, oh my God, I see wrinkles under my eyes. And we don't tell that, right? And I want to encourage you to redo this exercise on your own, right? And I'll tell you why at the end of this session. I'll tell you why. But remember this, right? Do it on your own time without anybody watching, without any distraction, and write it down. I want you to write down. And don't like filter it, okay? Don't filter it, don't censor it. Anything that you see when you look into a mirror, I want you to write it down. Okay, so there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of journaling in this workshop, and I hope that it's going to be very useful for every part in your life, not just now. Okay, so thank you so much, Steel, for sharing. I'm very glad that, Wisdom, you have a lot of experiences that you've gone through and you're so, happy with it. And so I would say content with the things that you go through. And also, Faiza, I think the word that comes out to me when you told me that thing that you see in the mirror is you and the courage. That are two words that I resonate with and I understand, right? Courage and yourself. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next one. All right, are you all ready? This is something about, sorry, I was just putting a very cute image of this monkey because when I found it on the mat, it was just very cute. All right, okay, the next question would be, what do you wish for from time to time? Okay, who do you want to be? This is a question that maybe in your earlier years when you were in 20s and below, 30s and below, people will ask you this question a lot. Like, who do you want to be? What kind of things you want to do in your life? What kind of careers are you looking for? Like, it's common, right? I hear that all the time when I was younger and now still. But have you asked yourself recently, what do you actually want to be? Or what do you wish for from time to time? Okay, anything at all. For example, it can be simple as, I would love to eat McDonald's later this afternoon or evening. Or it can be very deep and very broad. It could be, I want to be an amazing mother of 5 in the next few years. Or it can be simple as, I want to travel the world. Okay, once the borders open, I just want to go traveling. It can be anything. But I want you to think of, what do you wish for from time to time? What I mean is, think about the things that you wish for that always pops up. Okay? That means it is in repetition. from time to time, right, you wish for the same thing. For example, my mother's wish is to take a break. Oh my goodness. For her, it's like, I wish to take a break from everything from time to time. It always pops up. There's a repetition. So I give you about a minute or two to think about what is something that you wish for from time to time that you realize pops up in periods of your life. Okay, so I want you to think about that and write it down if you want to, but have that in mind. So for example, let me give you a few more examples as you think about that, right? So one thing that I wish for from time to time is to be able to do my master's and help people with therapy. That's something that I wish for time to time. Since I was 16 up till today, I am content with where I am. I'm content with the work that I do. But from time to time, I will have like, yeah, you know, in Malaysia or in Chinese, where I wish I was doing my master's right now. I wish I was actually doing therapy for people. Another wish that comes from time to time, obviously, it'd be like, I wish to maintain a certain weight. That's always like constant, especially now. I'm the heaviest in the point of my life, right? I'm the heaviest right now. So this wish is very broad, right? I was like, I wish to go back to the weight I was before. It happens like every period of my life. It comes up often. Yeah. So think of that, you know, what do you wish from time to time? And I want you to write it down, as many as you can. Okay? So let me give you another minute and then we'll move on. Okay? So the reason why I asked this question is that I'm a believer in patterns. So in psychology, we always look for patterns of behavior and thought, because patterns usually tell you that it's either a habit or it is an underlying thing that you're not addressing or you're not confronting, to put it more bluntly. So the reason why I ask you, what is one thing or a few things that you wish from time to time is, if you constantly wish about something that repeats from time to time, I'm gonna challenge you to think about why. Why do you wish for such things? Right? And it's a whole new discovery, it's a whole new exploration as well. But I want you to think about that. What do you wish from time to time? Look at the patterns of your thoughts, your wishes, your dreams. And this is very important to the connection. Okay, I see some comments. My boss is here. Thank you so much. Roshan is saying, I love what you're sharing and your super stuff. I'm a believer in patterns too. That's why we work very closely together, Roshan. So Roshan and I, we're from Leadronomics, and we build leaders, whether individually, organizationally, community-wise, we do it all. And yes, thank you so much for being a great leader, Roshan. Really appreciate you.
Roshan was one of the speakers last year, so I'm really, really happy that he's supporting. He's an amazing leader. I just love what he does. Thank you, Roshan, for supporting Andrea here.
Thank you, boss. Okay, all right. So for those who have just joined in on Zoom, I think there are a few more people on Zoom. Thank you so much. I would love to see your faces. If you can turn on your cameras, that would be great. If not, it's okay. But yes, so the reason why these 3 questions is very integral to the first C, which is connection, is that connection needs to happen within yourself first, right? It needs to happen simultaneously to your connection to your outer world. And from my experience with my parents, right, they're so connected to us, their children, they're so connected to us, their friends, they're so connected to us as their babies, right? They're so connected to that, to the point that they're no longer connected to themselves. And this is something that I'm very passionate about in changing that perspective. Is because when your kids leave the house, or maybe let's say you're very connected to a partner, right? Your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And when they leave or you break up or they move somewhere else, you suddenly feel very lost because there is a disconnection. There's a big void. So for example, when I left the house, I'm the youngest in my family. When I left the house, my parents had nobody else. They were just there for each other. And to be honest, when I asked them, do you know who you are? They don't. because that disconnection has been done over, like, how old am I? I'm 25, over 25 years and more. Like my eldest sister is 37, right? Yes, 37. For 37 years, all their life is dedicated to their kids, to us. They don't care about their needs. They don't really care about the me time. They care about providing food for us, taking care of us, making sure we have good education, making sure we have good character and good children and stuff like that, right? So after 37 years, when I asked them, when I left the house, what do you do for fun? What do you enjoy doing when we are all out of the home? It's so hard for them to answer. And now my mother, after how many years? After 8 years of me leaving home, she loves Pokemon, okay? She catches Pokemon a lot. She spends a lot of time on Pokemon. And I'm happy for her because she's happy and she loves it. So I'm very passionate about helping people discover the things that they love again or love now. And this is very integral to that connection. So being connected to yourself requires you to ask questions about your past, your current self, and who do you wish for in the future? Those are 3 questions I want you to think about from time to time. So whenever you feel lost, the question is going back to that connection, the connection with yourself again. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next C, right? Which is control. Okay, so I want to read this quote to you. This is by Mario Andretti, and he says this: you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control your attitude towards what happens to you. And in that, you will be mastering change rather than allowing it to master you. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. Now, this is a very long quote. And when I read this quote, I was like, this is crap. I was pissed off because obviously I think Mario never had kids or never had to take care of kids. I don't know. When I read this, I felt that it was empowering, yes, but also insensitive. And I'm not calling out Mario or the quote, but I'm telling you is that when I read quotes like this, it is very positive. It's telling you that, you know, you are supposed to accept things that happen to you and you change the way you perceive things, which I agree, right? Perception is key. But the thing is that if you are not going to ask yourself your very innermost first thought or first attitude, and you just change it completely, immediately, because you are told to do that, that is another disconnection. And that is not control. It's an irony because technically you are trying to control the way you act towards certain things because there's a certain expectation of you, whether by yourself or other people or by society. So I know it's quite hard to grasp, but what I'm trying to say is that if you don't ask yourself questions of why you feel this way in the first place, and you instantly just invalidate what you're feeling because you think that, okay, if I'm a mom, I should have, good understanding of my children. I should take care of their well-being. I should, really think about the kind of education I want to give them. If I'm a father, maybe I have to think like, I want to best things for my children. I need to work really hard, and all these things will come, right? All these other expectations that you put on yourself or others put on you. And then when you lose that control, when you lose your job, when you are extremely tired of hearing your baby crying, or when your kids are constantly arguing with you, you feel very agitated, angry. But most often than not, when you dig deeper, it is because you have lost control. You've lost control of the narrative that you tell yourself. You've lost control of the things that you used to be able to control. For example, income. For example, your children's behavior and character. What else? Maybe simpler things like being able to control the amount of time that you spend on certain things. All of that is disrupted, right? And I think one thing I want to share with you is actually something called locus of control. I'm quite sure many of you have heard of it. But I want you to do another activity. As I say, this is a very interactive workshop. So you're gonna do a lot of stuff here. And I'm gonna move to this. So in your book and your pen and paper, I want you to draw 2 circles. I put it as a blob because I think circles are quite tough to draw, like nice circles. So I would say put in 2 blobs, right? And 2 questions that I want you to answer. One is, what can I fully control? Now the keyword here is fully control, okay? And another blob, I want you to write what I cannot fully control. What can I not fully control? Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute or 2, and I want you to write as many as you can at the top of your head. What can I fully control and what can I not fully control? Okay, 2 minutes. Just write as many as you can. Okay, so for example, for me, I can give you some examples. Annotate, I think I can. Let me see. Okay, what can I not fully control? I cannot fully control the weather. Let's see if I can write this well. Weather. I cannot fully control politics, right? The state of our government at this point of time. I cannot control who my prime minister is. What can I not fully control? My death. Yeah, I cannot fully control my death. What else can I not fully control? Maybe I cannot fully control. What else can I not fully control? There's quite a few actually, but yeah, leave those thoughts to you. I want you to write as many as you can for yourself, right? Don't try to copy my answers, write your own answers. Okay, write as many as you can. And what can you fully control? I can fully control my food. I can fully control possibly my mood. Maybe I can fully control my time to spend on certain things. Okay, I'm not going to write that in full because it's so hard to write with this. Okay, maybe I can fully control my clothes. I can do that, my clothes. Okay, so I want you to write as many as you can. I'm going to give you 1 more minute and then we'll move on. So for those who've just entered the Zoom call, if you can, I would love to see your faces so I don't feel like I'm talking to an empty wall. So please, if you could support me in that way, that would be great. And if you don't have a pen or a book, just go ahead and grab one and start writing. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, let me see. How do I clear all drawings? Okay. Now I'm going to show you another figure here. Okay. So now when I studied locus of control in university, psychologists, we do this a lot, right? We study a lot of theories and frameworks and stuff like that. And when I was studying locus of control, is that in the surface level, people will tell you that there's an internal locus of control and there's an external locus of control, right? So internal meaning that things that you usually be able to control for yourself. So people who have very high internal locus of control tend to take responsibility for things that they deem responsible for. So for example, if I fail at my exams, if I have very high internal locus of control, I would say, I wasn't very prepared for that exam. Maybe I should have pumped in a bit more of time into studying a specific topic. But somebody who have very high external locus of control, they would say things like, no, you know, the weather was bad that day. I arrived late to the exam hall. I wasn't like, I wasn't prepared because it was raining very heavily. Some people say like, the lecturer gave us things that he never taught us about, or she never taught us about. The topic doesn't make sense. The question was blurred. Yeah, so external locus of control, people with that have a tendency to think of the cause of a situation to be external, so outside of themselves. So when I did a bit more digging about locus of control over the years, I realized that it's usually the internal and the external, as you can see in the picture here, right? What can I fully control is myself, the things that I can control. And then outside around it is things that I cannot control. Now, the problem with this kind of mindset or mentality is that it's too clear, it's too black and white, right? We are not black and white. Humans are never black and white. We are many, 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 many shades of gray. And it can range from black to gray to white and a mixture of all these things. We are so complex. So when I dig a bit further, I realized that what makes sense is this. It looks like an avocado, but it's not, right? There's this pink blob here in the middle that we often don't think about too much, which is what can I influence? Okay. So for example, what can I fully control? I can control my words, how I speak. I can control the way I take care of myself. I can control that. I can control the amount of kilometers that I jog on the treadmill. I can control the food that I take. I can control my feelings as well. I can control the way I think. Okay. And then what can I not fully control? I cannot fully control when my sister yells at me. I cannot fully control if I get scolded by my dad. I cannot fully control the weather, the politics, the government. I cannot fully control a lot of things, right? That's the first mindset. But when I start asking myself, actually, what can I influence? Then I realize the things that I cannot fully control here, what I cannot fully control here, right? All these areas, these areas, some of them can actually be things that I can influence. Okay, some of them are things I can influence. For example, I can actually influence politics, right? Political science tells you that you can influence politics. I can influence the way my parents do certain things. I can influence the way my child grows up. I can influence it. Now, the problem with all of us is on some days, you forget that this blob exists, this in between, right? And then you become something I call a control freak. You want to put everything outside here of what you cannot control into something that you can fully control. And this is a disconnection again. And then when you put everything here, right? For example, you crowd your entire plate with all kinds of food and stuff, and it's so packed, super packed. And then one day you realize, oh my goodness, everything is falling out. Everything is falling out. I cannot hold the plate any longer. I have no space. I have no control, and you spiral out of control, as we call it. Okay, just ignore my drawing, but I'm trying to express myself in drawing and helping you understand that. Okay, so I think before I move on, I want to just quickly ask, for those of you here or those watching online, is this something that you've experienced in your life, right? So the first step is you forget in between here things you can influence, and then you start putting everything from the outer circle to something inside. So things that you cannot control, you want to control it, you try to control it. And when there's too much to control, you spiral out of control. Okay, so I'm going to clear this so you can see it clearly. But yeah, have you guys felt this way? I mean, those especially in the Zoom call, please feel free to unmute yourself and have the conversation with me. Have you felt that before? Have you done that before? I certainly have.
Yes, Andrea, I have done it.
Yes, I now I I just saw the chat.
Yeah. So yeah,
I
I
hear
think
some of you say, yeah, I hear it. Okay, and I'm looking at the chat at this point of time.
That's why,
No worries,
Andrea,
Sham. I no worries. I'm not turning on your camera. It's okay.
in order not to go out of
Okay.
control.
Thank you so much for
become
those who are
control
responding
freak.
on the chat. But yeah, most definitely, Jasmine. Yes,
Andrea,
I felt
you
that way
cannot hear,
sometimes.
but Sharm was
And
speaking.
this is something that I find interesting because most often time when we spiral out of control, you feel alone. I'm not sure whether you feel that way, but most of the people I talk to, when they spiral out of control, they feel very alone. I'm not sure. Have you guys felt it? If you have on those on Zoom, maybe you can give me a reaction button on Zoom so I can see that. Okay, so Andrea is telling me that some of you are speaking to me, but I don't hear it. Okay. Let me try and see what I can do. Just give me a moment. Okay, let's see whether I can hear. Maybe some of you can speak to me so I can hear whether anybody's speaking to me.
Can you hear me now, Andrea?
Yes, I can hear
Am
you,
I
Sham.
audible?
Yes,
Okay.
Faisal, you're audible. I can hear you too.
Andrea, can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, so it was my issue.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. Yes, thanks, Andrea, for letting me know. So most likely you've heard each other. I won't ask you to repeat. It's okay. But thank you so much. Now I can hear you. Okay. All right. So coming back to that question, when you spiral out of control, or people that you know that spiral out of control, do you feel alone? Do you feel like, oh my God, the world is ending and I'm all alone?
But
Okay, I can't.
before we spiral out, I think I need to get it clear that I was under control by my late sister. So I know being in control, you can't expand your wing. So I do my best not to control others, but just like what you earlier mentioned, the word influence. I influence people around me so that they don't have to go through the pain that I have gone through, which I was under control. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think that's very insightful, right? Not to think about it as there are some of us and some of the people that you'll meet who are under control. For example, if I live under my parents' house, I'm under my parents' control. Some of you might be controlled by your partners, right? Your husbands or your wives. Some of you might be controlled by a sibling, right? A sister or an elder brother or stuff like that. Some of you might be even controlled by, people that you live with, not necessarily siblings or family. It could be friends. It could be roommates, housemates. I'm not gonna think about that too much, but yes, good to point that out. And you'll feel that, right? And I'm going to move on to the next part. And thank you so much for sharing wisdom. I think that's very vulnerable of you. Thank you so much. And with that, we are going to go into compassion. Compassion is a huge word, right? Everybody will say, I love yourself, take care of yourself, give that compassion that you give to others, to yourself. Honestly, we've heard this everywhere. All right. I've heard this since I was young until today. But it is a huge, huge, hard thing to do. Right. So the question is, how do you speak to yourself? Okay. For example, for good things and bad things, meaning situations in your life. Okay. So for example, maybe when I was younger, when something actually not younger, until today is the same, but to be honest, it's very hard. It's very hard to change it. I'm trying my best, but it's hard. So I'm going to be very vulnerable and I'll share you a story. I beat myself up all the time. I mean, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. When I fail at something, I would completely blame myself. So if I go back to, internal locus of control, right? Yes, I put everything here inside this little blob here, what I can fully control, because I think that I am responsible for a lot of the things that happen to me or what I do. And I internalize it to the point that I blame myself for things. And I will blame myself to the point that I'll beat myself up. Even for good things that happen, I would think that bad things are going to come after. If something good happens, I'm going to expect something bad because it's rarely going to be good. So what about you guys? When you think about how do you speak to yourself when there is something bad that has happened? Is it usually negative or positive? So if it's negative, I want you to put a thumbs down on Zoom. If it's a positive, I want you to put a thumbs up on Zoom. The reaction buttons, if you can, or you can open your mics and tell me. It's okay. I can listen now. Yeah. So how do you speak to yourself when something bad happens?
Is it me? Am
Is
I
it
the
you?
cause of the whole thing?
Okay. So you asked that question. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. What about anybody else? How do you speak to yourself when something bad happens?
May I proceed?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
At first, I behaved negatively by myself as usual. later, as I calm down, I reflect on what has happened. Then I contemplate what could be done later on.
Okay. But your initial instincts are to, usually negative, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I were to give you a situation, everybody, right? If I give you hypothetically speaking, if you were if you see a child and this child fails to put up, I don't know, Lego stacks according to what the manual says, and the child fails like 5 times in a row, you usually don't go to a child and be like, oh my God, you're such a failure, such a simple thing you can't do. You don't say that to a child, right? I don't know. I would never say that to a kid. I'll be like, it's okay, try again. That's what I'll do.
I agree with you, Andrea, too.
You wouldn't say that to a child. And sometimes this helps me a lot with self-compassion, is that every time I make a mistake, I remember my inner child, right? When we make mistakes, when we make failures, it is often than not, we go back to the insecure little child that we used to be. That's what psychology says. When you experience something, a trauma, a negative experience, something bad happening, more often than not, you shrink, you go back, you repress your feelings, and you regress to the child that you were. And this brings back us to full cycle of why I asked you to find a photograph of you as a kid. Because I want you to see yourself as the child that you remember as well. And when that helps me with compassion, because when I feel like I've done something wrong, I tell myself, I'm speaking to my inner child. I'm not going to scold my inner child. I'm going to tell them that it's okay, let's try it. Or it's okay, you did your best, let's try again. It's always try again. But you might speak to your inner child very differently. So that's how I do self-compassion. Maybe that would be helpful. I know we're running out of time, and I'm going to go to the last point, and this is about community, right? So for some of you who are in good communities, supportive communities, like for example, our Global Environment Hub, right? There's a hub there. And if you're in that would be great. And yes, noted on that, Andrea, I have about 3 minutes left, right? So I like this quote: if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I agree with this, but choose your community wisely as well. Community might be able to help you grow together, but some communities might also stunt your growth. Do not be so dependent on a community to grow. That's what I can say. So choose your community wisely, and as you grow, you will find different communities as well that will help you together move towards something bigger, better, more content, more peace. And this is my last one: solitude. So for those, I'm not sure if you know the story of John. John in the Bible, the apostle. This is a story I love because I always tell this to my mother, because my mom is a full-on community person. She believes in community. She says that humans are meant to live in a community. And I agree with that. But I told her that sometimes we must be alone. We must have solitude. And I like this quote as well. It says that we must become so alone, so utterly alone, that we withdraw into our innermost self. It is a way of bitter suffering. But then our solitude is overcome. We are no longer alone, for we find that our innermost self is the spirit. For some of us, we believe it's God. For some of you don't. It is a connection with yourself and the universe. Really, it doesn't matter. That it is God, the indivisible, something that we cannot comprehend, right? And suddenly we find ourselves in the midst of the world, yet undisturbed by its multiplicity, for our innermost soul know we ourselves belong with all being. It's very hard to digest, and I'll leave you with this quote. I know we are really out of time, so thank you so much for everybody here. So these are 4 C's that I want you to think about. The first one is connection, who you are before, who you are now, and who you want to be. The second one is about control. What happens when you try to control everything, and whether it is right for you to control it, or can you influence it? The third one is compassion. How do you speak to yourself and remember you as yourself as a child? And lastly, community, the need for community and an extra one, the need for solitude as well. So that's all. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Once again, I am Andrea, and this is the end. And the end is just a beginning if you choose to go. The notion of being yourself has been lost and will be lost. I can tell you've been lost from time to time, and it is hard work to undo the noise that is around you. And thank you so much. You can connect with me. I'm here, Andrea Out, on Gmail, on Instagram. Feel free to text me anytime. I would love to speak to you further. So thank you so much for the opportunity, Andrea, and the GES. I hope that the rest of you would go and see many, many more sessions going on and be inspired and be connected with yourself and with others. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Just a short note.
Thank you.
Please connect with Andrea on LinkedIn. I added the LinkedIn link from Andrea,
Thank you.
so you can do it, and also you will find her on Instagram. And please ask your questions, because she just shared so much value. So it took a little bit more time. But please connect her and ask your questions about this topic, because all the 4 points I believe in and I live it. So it's really helping as a human to live a fulfilled life. If you take these 4 points, just these 4 points, and start to think about it, how you can implement it into your lives. Thank you very much, Andrea.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone in the room, and see you very soon with some interview. We will go to stay on the YouTube channel, but not in the Zoom room, and we will continue with Nina, Cheryl Khan from Popcorn Fest, and Piero about exceptional relationships, and then finish with Stefan Taylor about menopause. What an interesting topic for a man. So please stay tuned and watch the YouTube channel, and have an amazing afternoon, guys. And thank you, Andrea, one more time
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Goodbye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.